Okay. How you doing? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Brisbane Podcast episode. Presented to you by How you doing? How you doing? Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's turn that down. Anyways, in today's episode, listen, I think I've been pretty bad about posting because social media is like, it's like a second job, and mine takes a lot of work. I know it's a different camera angle. I was trying different ones, and so I don't honestly know where the last one was. So I kind of just stuck it close, and you're getting a shot of the entire counter tonight. So that's basically just what's going to happen. But anyways, tonight's episode, a lot of times I just ramble on about things that don't matter, or my opinions on things that people really don't care about, or, just other things that aren't, like, sometimes good topics to talk about because people may not care about them. It's a situation of, it only intrigues me, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it, and maybe you find it intriguing as well. But this one topic, this couple things that I want to talk about tonight, learned about it a little bit last week at church. And also, inside of all of it, there's been some people that I've heard, conversations and such. Like I always do, I'm never going to out anybody on what's going on in your personal life or anything like that. But just information that I've heard, that I've relayed, and that I felt like I have a very good idea or opinion on because of the way that life has went for me a lot of the times. So yeah, just get ready to listen to me ramble about something that might matter for the next 30 to 45 minutes. Anyways, nonetheless, here it is, steamrolling this straight off the top. I want to say this. I have a lot of colleagues in life, not very many close friends, acquaintances, however you want to put it. And this only is because I have this belief in my head that you are who you hang out with. I feel like that's easy enough. Like you could stop the conversation there and be like, oh yeah, who you hang out with is who you eventually become. And a lot of times, the way that I think about that simply just goes, you are who you hang out with. And okay, yeah, it sounds like, now that it comes out of my mouth, it sounds kind of crazy. But whoever you're influenced by is the things that you're going to want to do. Thinking back now, I'm like, when I was in high school, I was working out a lot because I hung out with the kids that worked out a lot. I played sports, so I hung out with the kids that played with sports. I had a specific friend back in the day, Walker. He loved to cause mischief and just have the most fun in life possible. And so did I. And if you put us together, you could guarantee that we could probably burn the town down in one night if you allowed us to, because that's the influence I had around me, and that's the influence he had around him. So that's what we did. But I fully believe at the end of the day, that statement has never been more true in life for almost everybody. Because I'm not going to talk bad about, the decisions that some people make, or the way that they carry out their life, or whatever they're interested in, whatever the case may be. You just have to know at the end of the day, you are what you're influenced by. What you allow to happen and allow people to do within your life is who you're going to eventually become if you continue down that path. And I feel like it's really not that hard of an argument, for the simple fact of, if you're hanging out with a drug dealer, eventually you're going to become a drug dealer. And the only way that you don't is if you don't go down the same path that he does or she does, whoever. And that's where your pivotal moment changes to where now, instead of hanging out with a drug dealer, you're hanging out with somebody else. Or, the star athlete, you're hanging out with a star athlete, you're eventually going to become a star athlete because you learn from them and you build their tendencies and you start to do better. Just in the same conversation as bettering yourself, Me personally, I see it this way. A lot of the times, this is the way that I root it. If you hang out with somebody that follows Jesus, you're going to start subconsciously and then consciously following Jesus yourself. Because, this last weekend, me and my mom, we had a conversation about a situation at hand or whatever. However it came about, whatever it got talked about. But the situation at hand was specific individuals not being where they need to be in life. And not because they're like messing up or they're screwing up, they're not making the right choices, whatever. It's just that they're not, as we could boil it down, like influenced by the right people. And I hate to make that judgment claim and be like, you're hanging out with the wrong people. You shouldn't be doing these things, because I know deep down you don't want to be doing them. You're just going with the flow and hanging out with these people and groups and whatever, because that's just the way that life is right now. That's the culture that you're brought up in, whatever. Nonetheless, the conversation was, meeting the right people, being influenced by the right people to make the right choices as we see fit. And in the entire conversation, I told her, I was like, you are who you hang out with. You are influenced by what influences you. That one sounds crazier than the first one. But nonetheless, that's just the way that the conversation went, because, with me being a young adult and my mom being older, I guess you could say, being older, I mean, whatever she is. Sorry. Not sorry. Anyways. You're just in that situation to where, boil it down easy enough. You want to do better, but the things you're surrounding yourself with aren't allowing you to be better because they hold you back. Because you are the person that is so go with the flow. Because you want to enjoy life for the little moments that it is, but you don't realize the damage that's creeping up on you because of the things that you're doing. And I'm not saying like detrimental things. I'm more focused on the conversation of having a relationship with Jesus, essentially. Because that's where a lot of my life does root back to. I'm going to, like, if you could be transparent with me, I'd be transparent with you and tell you honestly, a lot of the influences in my life are through the encouragement of Jesus Christ. I have some influences through my friends and things like that, but they know and understand where my boundaries are with certain things, to where I'm not going to push the envelope anymore because of my faith and my spirituality and the choices that I want to make. Nowadays, I'm more, how do you put, like, I guess just simply more mature. And there was moments in my life where I wasn't mature, where I was making those mistakes to not have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And like at the end of the day, that's like the main conversation there is just, bettering yourself to better the relationship with Jesus Christ. That's where it's at the end of the day. But I think on top of all of it, you kind of look back, and especially within life, you ask yourself, like, you look to somebody at some point for guidance. Or maybe in these moments where you're like, maybe not making the right choices, maybe not bettering yourself the best possible way, or gaining and growing that relationship with Jesus Christ, whatever, however you want to put it, whatever. Maybe you don't have the right guidance. And I think kind of that's just what it boils down to at the end of the day, is your influences like guidance, not fully, totally, whatever, but you just don't have the right guidance. And so me being the Jesus freak that I am, I turn around and go, okay, well, I'm just going to let God guide my life. And there's moments, I slip up and I I get into the situations where I'm like, okay, God, take the reins. And I'm like, all right, you can have them. And then I get to that uncomfortable spot or something I'm not, perfectly okay with or whatever. It's more of my uncomfortability than anything. But in those moments, I rip the reins back and I'm like, okay, I need to take back control of this situation because I don't like where my current position is. And those are the moments like where I slip up. And me at the end of the day, like I recognize that maybe for me isn't a good thing that is happening because at the end of the day, I'm asking God to take over my life, give me the guidance and wisdom of Him, and then I immediately want to rip back the reins. That doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, a lot of the way that life works, I guess you could say, maybe in a sense, is all based upon your guidance. You can have the conversation of like people are going to be who they're going to be. Um, they are the way that they are because of their culture and the way that they grew up and the circumstances they were in and all of those things. But also at the same time, unbiased to the conversation, you can say, but they're the ones that chose that. They're the ones that chose those guidances in life to be put in those positions. There were a lot of times in life where I had to cut the cord on somebody else to make sure that I got the right guidance somewhere else. And maybe at the end of the day, some people just aren't doing that because of uncomfortability, or you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or you just don't you don't want to do these things that maybe aren't the most comfortable thing. It might hurt others, whatever. But it would just big part of it at the end of the day is guidance. You have to choose the right people in your life to allow you to continue to get better. And it's like, we talk about like past episodes and stuff, and it's like, like Jesus is a big part of my life. It should be as well as yours, whatever. I'm not going to push you into that. But oh, goodness great. Oh, yeah, baby. Anyways, you're all together for this piece of the conversation is just, at the end of the day, I guess kind of be careful on what you're influenced by, who you let guide you through life, and I guess just how you treat yourself in certain circumstances and situations of life. But at the same time, yeah, we'll flip sides of the coin here and get to the other side and like push the envelope a little bit, get a little controversy going, and get whatever going. But it's like, at the end of the day, some of those positions could be a result of lack of community, lack of fellowship, lack of mentorship, lack of, I guess, guidance too. At the end, like all of these things is just the lack of, and one of the important ones to me is lack of community. I sat in church last weekend and we talked about fellowship and guidance and kind of just community as a whole. Being able to participate and do these things and put yourself in those positions where sometimes you're not comfortable, sometimes you just need to be a part of something so you can experience it, whatever, whether you're ready or not, however it works out. But I think the sense of community, the sense of like community has more to offer in life between like friends, family, neighbors, acquaintances, colleagues, whatever. Because you're then connecting, you're seeing different ways of life, you're understanding that the culture that you're growing up in isn't the only option. Understanding that the situations and circumstances you're going through aren't the only option. There are other people that can give you advice or guidance, however you want to put it, to then, I guess, kind of like change you and talk about the last episode, whatever. But also at the same time, it's just, for me, I find my sense of community in love for the Lord. It comes down to, I've got a TikTok where I used to do Bible studies, and people love those. I got my sense of community through there because I had the opportunity to relate to people. And then at work, I relate to those guys because obviously we work together, and we're always learning new tips and tricks on how to make our jobs easier, and what this guy doesn't know, I can teach him something about, whatever, yada yada. But maybe it's not such an impactful conversation. Maybe it's not that important. But just all of it together, I go on a rant a little bit for a second, but it's like this. I sit back and I go, this kind of sometimes blows my mind for the simple fact of I've never had to, and you can call me like Silver Spoon or what. There is something in my shirt. You can call me Silver Spoon. You can call me whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. I don't really care. But I never lived a life where I was put into situations or experiences that I was in like dire need of help. At the end of the day, I can confidently say I've had a good support system throughout the majority of my life. And that just comes down to the simple fact of, some points in life, it was just my mom and my sister supporting me while other people had walked away. But the big deal about all of it at the end of the day, I think, is just that, I had the right people around me to influence me. I tell my mom bad ideas all the time. She's like, you might want to sit on that one a little bit. Think that one out. Let's see if we can come up with something different. I'm like, Mom, no, you don't get it. This is the right idea. And she's like, just sit down for a second, think this out. My sister, the same way. She's like, I don't, my sister's a little more blunt. She's like, that's not a good idea. No, that's not but I've just always had that good support system, that good guidance, that good, that has rooted me back to what I've always needed to hear and allowed me to continue to move forward in my life. I've had a lot of down moments in life where, before I fully knew who Jesus was, life ebbed and flowed a lot more. But in those moments that I got down, I had the right people around me. I had, my best friend Bradley. I had Walker. I had Cyrus. I had Rollins. I had Noah. I had all those guys around me to then bring me back to reality and guide me back to like, okay, this isn't like such a big deal. And then I'm hanging out with the right people. I'm being able to be down, but also get right back up because I'm influenced by the right people. But, at the end of the day, I think like this, I can't get a single, I just can't get that single thought that, ties it all together to come through. And so, just, sit here and continue to give examples and, just, just, beat a dead horse like I always do. But, I mean, that's whatever. Listen, it's just, for me, it's all resorted back to my, now looking back on past events of life and everything else that has happened. It is now rooted back to me, my love for the Lord is why, I'm successful. I love the life that I live. I, continue to wake up every single day, not instantly grateful, but at some point grateful for the day that I live and, everything that I've been able to accomplish in life. And it's just that sense of gratitude. It's fulfillment that I've never felt in any other way than when it comes to loving the Lord. And understanding that, this one's going to sound so crazy. And I feel like some episodes I'm like hyped up and I'm like doing all these crazy stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, like this is a slow moment in my brain where I'm being able to like think. Like, but it's just a situation of if everybody in my entire life, which I know they never would, but if everybody in my entire life was to walk away right now, I still have the Lord by my side. I've still got one person fighting in my corner, making sure that, one, I come out on top, two, I still stay successful, and three, I feel like kind of most important to me is like I'm still happy. I'm still grateful for the things around me. I might get down a little bit, but still, I'm, again, grateful for the life that I have, grateful for being able to go to work and the life that I live, and just all of these things that happen. It just blows my mind, and that's honestly at the end of the day like why I love the Lord so much. And I'm not like a testimony lover of like, this is why I am the way that I am, and the way that I love the Lord and all that stuff, and this is what happened to me, blah blah blah, whatever. I've got my own, or I don't really. I share it, but it's to talk about a different conversation, not just like this is my testimony, whatever. Nonetheless, but that's just like that brings it home for me, and I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, probably like it won't make any sense for anybody but me. But I'm just glad that it makes sense for me because now I can look back on like my ADHD thought and be like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense, and yeah, it's still true to this day, regardless of whenever I look at it. But it's funny to see. Okay, so backstory a little bit. It's a common thing for me throughout the day, and it's been a little bit lower now because I've been like so bum rushed with work, and if you can't tell I'm tired. Anyways, bum rush with life and work has been so crazy, and just getting the business going and getting scheduled to go to events and traveling and all the whole nine yards that life has to offer right now. For me, it's like, ugh. But at the same time, it's like, oh my God, Lord, I am just so happy. Jesus, thank you so much. Because, I read, like, periodically I read, and I'm getting my thought back a little bit. I know I just went off a tangent there for a second, but, like, the whole backstory part of this is, like, with how crazy life has been, blah, 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 whatever, what I just said, but correlation to that is, like, throughout the day, I write down in my notes, like, my thoughts, my ideas of things that I want to talk about. And a lot of the times now, it's hard for me to sit down and be like, rethink that thought. Because anytime that I do have a thought throughout the day, I talk to God about it, and I try and get that complete thought until I'm sound and what I feel through my discernment is the right answer. And sometimes it's like the notes that I have written down for the night, I literally wrote them like I was thinking about them while I was watching a YouTube video. And so I wrote, like, I was thinking and watching and wrote down some stuff. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about it. And then I sat there while watching my YouTube video and was like passively watching the video, but also completing the thoughts, like scanning back and forth between the phone and the computer, scanning through to make sure that I had my full thought. And now it's like the first couple episodes I upload. It's like, this is making, like I'm calm, cool, collected, whatever, but I can't get a single thought across because I've already completed the thought, so I don't know how to talk about it again. Because for me to talk about something, it has to feel methodical and like I'm saying what I need to say and not just rambling on like 95% of the time what I do. But that's just, for me, that's just the thing. Is through it all, and this is another like side story. Through it all, whether I can get a thought across or not, or have a good episode, feel fulfilled, look good in my t-shirt because my arms look big today, whatever it is. I worked out, actually. I got back into working out a little bit, starting to feel better about myself, taking my vitamin. Excuse me. Taking my vitamins, drinking water, doing the whole 9 yards. Anyways, through it all, I've just been able to, maybe not as much as I want to, but still, be grateful, love the Lord, continue to thank Jesus for the life that I live, and eventually get back to the way that I was. And, sometimes I'm regretful of saying that because I am so grateful for the life that I live now. And also because I used to sit in a pew on Sunday and pray so hard about wanting the life that I live now. Being able to think about Jesus subconsciously, talk to God subconsciously. When I have thoughts, go talk to God about it first to get a sound thought, whatever it is. I used to pray for those days. And now that I'm in them, I sometimes can't even be grateful for them. So then I feel like a really bad person. Then I feel like, maybe I am doing this whole thing wrong. But, it's trial and error. As long as you continue to love the Lord, you'll figure it out at some point. You'll get a peace of mind and a clear mind at some point. But for me, it's rise and grind every day. I'll slow down at some point. I don't know when it is, but man, at the end of the day, I'm in the market of loving to work, I love the abilities that money allows me to have, to be able to help people and buy the things that I enjoy and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't say that I like talk about some biblical prophecy and be like, I love money. Like it rules my life. In a certain way it does, because, it does for all of us. We have bills, whatever, but I love my money for the abilities that it gives me. Being able to go out and experience things with friends and family and everybody around me. And if I didn't have that job and love to work so much, I wouldn't have those abilities, and life might be a little bit different. But nonetheless, all of it, it'll work out eventually. I'm going to beat myself with this microphone stand later because I feel like I'm giving you a horrible episode because I can't finish a thought. Anyways, you guys seem to love it. Or like it at least, whatever it is. Anyways, listen, I think I'm just at the end of the day going to make this a short episode, so I'm going to talk about one or two things more, and then I'm going to call it deuces because I do what I want around here, And I guess at the end of the day, sometimes I do run out of things to talk about. So if anybody ever gets enough courage to comment something or personally text me of something I should talk about or study or whatever, there's an info card at the end. It's if you want your topic or blah blah blah, make an appearance on the show, da da da. It's if you want me to talk about something, if you want me to research and talk about something, just let me know. Leave it in the comments. Text me personally if you know me personally, whatever it is. I guess even if you don't know me personally, just DM me, whatever it is. If you want me to talk about something, just let me know, and I will look into it. I will study it. I will get sound thoughts on it, whatever it is. Because sometimes I do run like today's episode. Sometimes the thoughts aren't thinking something, and it just doesn't. At the end of the day, for me, it's I just gonna do it anyways, and I'll sit here and ramble. You might not like that. I'm not sure. Anyways, at the end of the day, here it is. Another one straight in your face, just like this. There's nothing better than the feeling of Jesus on your own with no assistance. And I've said this before, and somebody looked at me and was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, here's the situation that comment might be a lot to digest. So watch this. I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it really quick. There's nothing better in life than having the feeling of Jesus on your own without assistance. And what I mean by that is this. There comes a time where you're, say, like a baby Christian, or you're just finding out, or you're just learning and building a relationship. You have assistance from somebody else that you can go to and ask questions, that you can bounce ideas off of and ask for all kinds of advice and guidance, whatever, with your new growing relationship with Jesus. But then there comes a point in time where you transition into being able to study on your own, being able to build the relationship with Jesus on your own fully, to where you don't need the guidance of somebody else to be like, okay, situation of like, where do I start in the Bible? If you're brand new to it, you're like, where do I start? So then you have to have that assistance to like make it through your first chapter or your first book or whatever it is that you read. But oh my God, eventually you make it to the point where you don't need someone to tell you like, okay, you read this book, so read this book next. You're like, okay, I read this book, but now I want to know the complete opposite of that. I learned about love and compassion here. Let me learn about, hatred and anger here, to where it's two ends of the spectrum, and you start picking your own books and chapters and verses on your own that you want to read and study. But more importantly, it's just that feeling at the end of the day. It's not like I guess kind of is the transition at the end of the day, but like, it's just that like gratitude moment where you're like, okay, I can sit down on my couch by myself, read my Bible, study, write down my notes, and I don't need the outside help. Because one, you got the Holy Spirit working, you got your discernment working, you've got all of these spiritual gifts working to allow you to do those things. And that feeling, if you can ever recognize it in the moment, I think to me, like, that's like 9.8 on a 10 scale of like best feelings in the world. Because you then learn subtly that now it's on you. You're not relying on anybody else to make you or hold you accountable for praying or opening your Bible, reading the daily verse, doing a Bible study, whatever it is. You're doing that all on your own. And so then maybe now at some point you can transition into helping somebody else because you've grown in your faith, you've studied, you've done all the things. Now you're knowledgeable just as your person who gave you guidance and advice. I don't know what you call that kind of person, but just as you are that person now, you can go help somebody else. And we can, you can just like continue to go plant seeds and do all the things and have so much fun. And that feeling is just indescribable. But I can say, like, if I put it on a point scale, 9.8 out of 10. A full 10 out of 10 is feeling the Holy Spirit. If you can recognize that in the moment, that's a 10 out of 10 experience. Because, for me at the end of the day, if I feel the Holy Spirit in the moment and can recognize it, man, I don't feel any closer. I am like nose to nose with God at that point. Because I just know that, it's like a big warm hug. You just feel safe and everything feels right. But I guess I can touch on it like a little bit like this, because sometimes I can give, like, I guess the proper advice to be like, okay, this is how you do this, and then okay. So here's the situation. You ask yourself, maybe if you're new to following Jesus or you're conditioned following Jesus, but you still, have to ask so many questions or whatever. Here's what you do. You get 6 inches away from the mirror, and you tell yourself, enough is enough. I'm going to do this all on my own. No, I'm totally kidding. I mean, you could do that. It worked for me. It may not work for everybody else. But an ounce of that. Like, I'm going to keep yawning. I'm going to keep yawning so much. Anyways, it really does sometimes come down to a situation of enough is enough. You can, and I guess maybe this is just my personal experience, but you can feel tired or annoying when you're asking someone Bible questions, every single chance that you get. It's a great thing that you are, and I'm not hating on it whatsoever, but it's one of those situations where you can get tired of asking 95 questions a day, waiting for those answers. And when you feel, when you get those answers, then you feel that gratitude. Then you feel that sense of completion, and you get that warm, fuzzy feeling on the inside. Once you tell yourself enough is enough, you start getting that on your own because the Holy Spirit is working, because your discernment is leading you in the right way, because of all of these emotions and things. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't even have a podcast because my vocabulary is not even that broad. Like, I know some big words, but like not big words to where it's like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. Now, I'm just kind of rambling on about nothing. Anyways. It just, at the end of the day, that's, I tell a lot of people, like, it's all based on feelings. We're very feeling creatures. Like, feel your emotions, feel this rug, feel this towel, feel this blanket. It's like, whatever you want to say. I don't, it's just a feeling thing, At the end of the day, I see it like this. Coming to know Jesus, learning about Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus. And I get just like blanket statement, everything that goes into loving Jesus, loving the Lord, loving everything that is a part of that conversation and whole. Because there's like so much. There's spirituality and faith and simple love and just learning all about Him. There, for me, is no greater feeling at the end of the day. Like I said, I can't put into words. It's just like 10 out of 10 experience, would visit again. And I still do to this day. I don't know, man. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk about the Lord because I am a little bit selfish and want to gatekeep because I'm like, man, it's just, And then there's some days I'm like, hey, everybody, come figure out what this is about because this is the greatest thing in the world. Anyways, I think this has been, like, for me at the end of the day, this has been the worst representation of trying to express my love for the Lord in word form. Like, you talk about all these different things. You talk about this, it's just all of it. And then you turn around. Like, I'm sitting here the whole time, and I'm like, what is this guy talking about? What is it? Get to the point, dude. Like, today, Junior. Anyways. Sorry. I'm just authentic, and this is just the way that it goes, and whatever. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Hey, if you made it this far in the episode, I'll give you a takeaway. It goes simply like this: there's no other or better feeling than loving the Lord and recognizing that you are loved by the Lord, understanding that you are perfect in His eyes, and that there's absolutely nothing He would change about you. You're who you're meant to be. Allow yourself to put the right people around you that will let that person come out every single day of the week. Work as hard as possible every single day in your life to ensure success for the Lord. Do your work for Him. Don't ask the Lord what He can do for you, but what you can do for Him. You know, there's a lot of things that I could say. I could ramble on with short comments and quotes for the rest of the evening. But I think the serious takeaway from it all, for me, in these conversations that we talked about, it's simple. Jesus Christ is the love of my life and will always be the love of my life. No matter how many times I walk away from Him, He's never walked away from me. Every single time that I've taken the steps to walk back to Him, He's been right there with His arms open to give me a hug. And whether you know Him today or not, He's still standing, waiting to give you the biggest hug of your life. So if you could, and if you would, ask Him into your heart. Ask Him to change you for the better. And ask Him to take over your life so that you can work for Him for the rest of forever, so you can gain that eternal life, so you can gain an amazing relationship that you never even knew that you needed. But, I mean, intense episode for today, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, listen. That's the episode. I know. It felt like a lifetime. I'm sorry. Don't know what to tell you. Maybe next time don't be so invested and click off. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, listen. I can sit here and talk about it all day and make it not make sense because of the way that my brain works. But we don't have time for all that. Anyways, that's the episode. I'll see you on the next one. I love you so much. Let's see. Ruthless plug. Let's hit, I don't know, all the buttons. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the... Anyways, I don't really care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.